Hey SEOs and content marketers, say goodbye to crazy spreadsheet mashups and experience unprecedented connectivity between your SEO planning and reporting data. Introducing Audience Key, technology for keyword mapping, content brief automation, and rank tracking that form an SEO strategy system providing unparalleled feedback loops between planning, reporting, and optimization activities. Put your time and energy into strategy, not data upkeep. Visit audiencekey.com and apply for a free trial today. Hey everyone, welcome to Webcology on WMR.fm. It is the 28th of December 2023, like post-Christmas, pre-New Year, 3 days before 123. This is going to be actually kind of cool. On Sunday, it's the 12th month, 31st day of the 23rd year. Numeric anomaly on the calendar, it spells 123. Unfortunately, none of us are going to be at work to write memos with 123 in the top corner as much as we'd like to be, because it's going to be Sunday before Monday, the new year. This is Jim Hedger from Digital Always Media, Kristine Schachinger from Sites Without Walls, and we're joined today. This is a really cool show. We are joined by some of the longest serving SEOs in the business and some of the best known names in the business. We got Doc Sheldon, CEO of Web Narwhal; Topher Kohan, Director of SEO for CBS Sports and Paramount Global; Ryan Jones, Senior Vice President of SEO Razorfish; Carolyn Shelby, Principal SEO for Newfold Digital and YoastSEO; Grant Simmons from Net Marketing Brilliant Strategy. I don't think I got Grant's position right. He's the U.S. Ambassador for Inlinks and Fractional Director SEO for Healthcare Success and at Clickfluent Consulting. Do I got that one right?
That's how it's written. So Grant, I'll have to correct you.
You know what? I think independent. Yeah. I liked independent SEO about town.
Yeah, I have a lot of roles right now, Jim. So yeah, all of those are right.
Okay, well, Grant, Carolyn, Ryan, Topher, and Doc, welcome to Webcology. Thanks for joining us. Wild year it's been. I don't even know where to begin. What a year it's been. Going in some weird semblance of order, what was the biggest thing that happened in search this year? What do y'all think? Like the thing that impacted search the most? I think I know what y'all going to say, but what is it? Anyone who wants to jump first.
I mean, everyone's going to say AI, right?
Well, you got there first.
It really hasn't influenced search yet, right? It's still an experiment on most of the engines, or you have to have Edge and use Bing, which, let's be real, most people don't. So like it is the biggest influence, but it still has a long way to go, I think. So it's interesting to me that, you know, everybody's going to say it, but I don't think it's really made its full mark yet.
You know, Ryan's right. We're, I think, 3 to 5 years off for AI being really impactful. The biggest thing this year was an unprecedented amount of core updates. We had one right after another, overlapping other major updates. That's, I think, was the biggest impact, at least from my point of view. That's the biggest impact I saw on our business and how it impacted us, was not so much being hit by the core algorithm updates, but being not really knowing if there was volatility in our rankings and traffic because of it or not.
Yeah, I would say that although we talk about AI and SGE as being, you know, what's to come, and I agree there, Ryan, I do think it's impacted our business, to your point, Topher, because everything that I've been doing, everything we're doing at different agency levels has been impacted by, you know, being able to write some content, whether it's title tags or other stuff, just quicker. And so it's definitely impacted our business overall.
I would say that it probably would be AI, specifically from the, you know, in November of last year, everyone believed it was going to take all of our jobs and, you know, to basically destroy the universe. And this whole year has been, I just felt like we've all been kind of walking on eggshells, waiting for the other shoe to drop and waiting to see how things got integrated. Plus, as a, you know, a developer, as a product producer, everyone was scrambling to add AI enhancements into their roadmap so they could either be the first to market with it or not look like they were lagging too far behind. So it felt like it was just a lot of, oh my God, we have to deal with AI. But I mean, ultimately, this was the year that it didn't take over. So, we all thought it was going to replace us, and it turns out it's just here to help us. And we've got to learn to accept the help and work with it instead of against it.
And it's been over a year, right, since people first said AI is going to take all our jobs. So to everyone listening, congrats, you made it. AI did not take your job
yet.
Yeah. Well, we're all still standing, or more probably, we're all still sitting here working. AI's made an enormous impact. Although I think I agree with Ryan's first point. We ain't seen nothing yet. Carolyn made the point that the real impact has been the updates, the rapid core updates and algorithm updates at Google. Starting, I think actually it was all year long, with a quick break between April and June. Kristine, what were all the updates that were happening this year?
They had a long 4-month delay where there was nothing, which was actually also when they started Project Gemini. So I have to think they're probably related. And then all of a sudden it was like catch up time. So it was like update after update after update, overlapping updates. I don't know if they did that to obfuscate like when the updates started and stopped so that you couldn't reverse engineer anything, or if it's just they got behind because they did take a lot of the machine learning engineers and move them over to the Project Gemini when they started that.
So before asking the panel about the updates, I just want to introduce Steve Wiideman, CEO at Wiideman Consulting. He just joined us a few moments ago. What about these updates? What's been the impact, and what's Google been up to? Like, why so many successive updates, one after the other?
Hey everyone, I think I know most of the group, if not by name, then in person. But
Hey, Steve.
yay! It's been a fun year actually. We've been able to use some of these AI tools to help generate topics and entities and tables of contents for amazing long form skyscraper content. I think it's getting us ready to save a ton of money on all these crazy tools that we've been using. In a lot of cases where we're tracking average position from scraped results, when I think scraped results are going to be dead in a year from now, as we see Discover and Notes and TikTok-ish interactions and how users are actually performing searches on mobile. I have a feeling that in a year from now, a scraped result is going to be what a robot sees and not what an average person sees, since it's going to be so personalized. So I'm looking forward to saving a lot of money on tools in the next year and getting back to what we should be doing, focusing on user experience and looking at our mobile experience and continuously improving how users interact with our content, a little less than worrying about some of the technical things we tend to obsess over. I think I think there still might be some tiebreaker things, but as web search continues to go away and voice search finally gets its chance, I'm excited to finally get my clients bought into the Action Console and Alexa Skills and doing things that teach their clients how to interact with them individually through their voice apps versus just web search. And as far as SGE, I don't know if you've seen it, but it seems to me like a lot of it's just featured snippet optimization. If you've got the featured snippet, you're probably going to show up in SGE for the most part. So a lot of that's just the the syndication and citation of those short answers that users are searching for. Some of our clients are asking questions like, hey, should we really be worried about this? And I'm like, I think it's always important to test and to respond to how changes happen. But right now I see the labs Google search results as being a looking for an answer, right? Whereas people who are looking for web search results are looking for options. So I do think there's going to be an impact to some of our upper funnel, but so far from all of our clients, we've seen nothing but growth in Q4 in terms of rankings, because we've stayed the course with just focusing on improved content, improved visibility off the website, and improved user behavior signals, such as boosting our CTRs through rich results. So as long as we focus on those three things, and start experimenting with SGE and voice a little bit more than usual, I think we're going to be just fine.
Google's about to be awash with content. I mean, Google's already awash with content, but it's about to be like just flooded, overloaded, super spammed with content for good and for ill. Some of it will be quite useful and helpful. Some of it will be generated specifically to get Google's attention. What do y'all think is going to be Google's reaction?
The generated stuff is bad content. It's almost always bad content. If you totally rely on the machine to make the content is not good. The content is useless, and you can tell that it was written by the machine because it uses weird words. Like it talks in a way that no human talks. And everybody who's got two brain cells to rub together can identify it instantly.
I wholeheartedly disagree. Wholeheartedly disagree.
I've yet to meet one user that's been like, you know what I want? I want a website full of automated content that a human didn't write. That's what I'm looking for when I do this search. That is what meets my needs in this moment. Like, I see a lot of SEOs using it and whatnot, and I'm using it not as full-blown articles, but sections of pages here and there to flesh out some stuff or to, populate some stuff, right? Testing it on personal sites, et cetera, et cetera. But I've never seen a user that's what they want. If they want AI content, they'll go to the AI. They don't want your website with ads and the cookie notice and the pop-up to sign up for your email and all that stuff, and then AI content. There's not a person in the world that wants that. So it's
Brian, there's not a person in the world who cares who cares where the content came from. They don't care if ChatGPT wrote it or if I wrote it or a human wrote it, as long as it's correct and it fills the need of what their query was. That's all they care about.
Useful. It's got to be useful.
Right. And
well,
I
that's
agree.
the key.
If you're just outputting from ChatGPT and put it on your webpage, good for you. Tell me what your vertical is, so I'll build a vertical next to you and sync you in an hour, right? Because you got to have an editor touch it. You got to have humans edit the output content. Once you do that, it's a useful tool. I don't think it's ready for prime time. Sports Illustrated showed us it's not ready for prime time, right? But that's where I think it's really going to be useful. It's something to move the content creation along quicker so editors can get to it and create content that the users want.
So let me
Topher, I think you actually threw the word out there. That's the key to the whole thing. It's a tool. For those that are trying to use AI content generation to replace their own work, they're doomed to failure. For those that are trying to use it as a tool to give them something better to work with, like, for instance, outlines or research, I think that there's a real value there for it.
Yes, I agree that there's value, right? Don't get me wrong. I'm saying there's no value to it. I just think as a website completely created by AI, I think website is the key differentiator here. Right? For most of the places where AI content is useful, a website isn't what the user wants. They want the answer, right? Who is Taylor Swift? How old is she, et cetera? That's an answer. And that's an answer that I just want the number or I want the background, right? Who is this person? And I may not actually want your website. So I think what we're going to see is while AI content can be useful, I think we're going to see the differentiation of users actually wanting it on a website versus just wanting that answer either in the search results or read to them by their smart device, which is, I can't believe why that's not leveraging AI more than it should be, or something like that. I think for a search like, best TV for sports, users aren't going to want AI. They're going to want that website with the real people's, and the real specifications and people's reviews and ratings and recommendations. So I think, I don't want to go on record as saying AI isn't useful. I just think in most of the cases where it is useful, I don't think people actually want a website for it. They just want their answer.
So I think it's reasonable to say that we might be finding a user shift from people going to websites just to learn things to people leaning towards only really going to websites where they can do something they want to do, because the thing that they want to learn, they're going to learn in the SERPs themselves. And it's not going to get to the point where they need to dive into a site to read information. So these made for AdSense sites where they were, just in random information about puppies and kittens, you're not going to need to go there, because if you ask a question about, your kitten, Google's going to answer it in the SERP. But if you need to order food for your cat, then you're going to go to that website. So there's hopefully going to be a shift towards more functional websites rather than the ones that exist strictly for eyeballs and ads.
And go ahead.
Well, all of you in one way or another have your fingers on large scale publishing. Topher over at CBS, Carolyn dealing with everything that goes through Yoast, Steve with the number of your clients, Kristine with the number of your clients as well. Given that, I think Ryan's absolutely right when he suggests that people are going to SGE for answers and they're going to traditional search for options. But is this going to change the way that corporations or advertisers present information to the general public? Kristine.
Well, I was going to jump in and say that Carolyn and Ryan both hit on really good points. Part of the HCU, the Helpful Content Update, is written in a way that AI content can never meet those guidelines. And then in addition, we see John regularly discussing now that AI content is regurgitated content and an anchor around your website's neck when it comes to what Google wants in search results. So he's tweeted that a few times. It's also been reported by Barry a couple times. So I think that there are places like where Ryan says, like, you augment an article or use it for titles or descriptions that are very helpful. But as far as direct interfacing content with the search engine, I think people have to be careful. We're seeing with affiliate sites and that a lot of them that used AI content are completely dropping off their organic visibility and traffic. So I think there has to be, like, from our angle, and everyone else can tell me what they think. I think we have to give careful advisement on, sure, if you can do titles and descriptions like Yoast does now, which is amazing. Carolyn was on our show, I think last week, and told us about that. Like, you got 1,000 blog posts and you want to fill in the title descriptions, Yoast can do that for you now. And you want to augment some articles, that's great too. But I think you have to be careful about using it for straight content, given what Google has said and what the HCU guidelines have written.
So I think the key thing there, in my humble opinion, is that word helpful that we bandy around, but sometimes people are going to your site for valuable information that can be pulled from AI generated content. So I think the thing is, helpfulness is more about a content strategy to make sure you do have the content once people get there. And then certainly the utility side of it is that other key thing. So utility side of it around making sure that when people get there, it does satisfy their needs. So I don't think AI content omits that. It just has to be part of an overall content strategy with human insight and making sure you're covering topics completely.
If anybody doesn't think that today they're going to a website and reading content that's 100% AI created and then edited by a human, then there's a naivete there that I don't understand. I know for fact, multiple websites are pumping out content that's being edited by humans. Let's be very clear. It's being touched by human before it's published, but not a single word was written by a human being. It was all AI outputted, and that content is performing well. It's doing great. I'm seeing it across multiple sites, multiple platforms, and it just is. And to think that's not happening is a world I want to live in, because it's a pretty little fairyland.
It's definitely happening. It's just that over time, how long will that content continue to rank? The HCU is there as a learning algorithm, continually running to update.
I don't think Google can tell, Kristine. I honest to God think I have read this content. But to be clear, I want to say out loud, this is not on CBS Sports. It's not on make sure I say that very clearly. This is not on any site that I actually work for, but these are other sites that I know it's happening. And I don't think Google can tell. It's not watermarked. Because it's being edited and touched.
Okay, Topher, given that, Topher, would you start using AI content in at CBS Sports?
Yeah. Let me be clear. Paramount Global is has not okayed for us to use it for publication, so we're not using it for publication. But we've had some long conversations and some guidelines, and we tested some writing stuff, and it's around boilerplate things, like Ryan says. What is a gambling term dictionary kind of thing is what, where someplace that I would see us using it, because that's pretty boilerplate, straight ahead stuff that you can tell pretty quickly whether it's right or wrong, and you can edit it pretty fast. And why reinvent the wheel when you can just have AI output it for you?
I don't want us to get confused though between AI detection and AI and the guidelines in the HCU. So the HCU guidelines are not about AI detection. They're about things AI can't do. So like AI can never go outside its training set. It can't create, it can't add new information. It can't add new helpful information to the dialogue. It can only regurgitate what exists. So when Carolyn said everything it writes is garbage, that's what John has been saying too, because it's just a regurgitation of everything that already is in the document corpus that Google has. So when it's restated, no matter how well it's restated, no matter how we can't tell, Google's not looking at it, is it AI content? It's looking at it, is it helpful?
It's not adding to the academic
Exactly,
discourse,
yeah.
you know, it's not innovating. And that's what the helpful content update is for. You know, is this information new and useful? So, I mean, writing something that's already existed, yeah, that might be useful, but there's a whole lot out there already that's already saying that. So why should yours rank above somebody else's when somebody else has already said that?
It's,
You know, you got to
it's
make
not
it new.
adding-
You got to spice it up a little.
There's no information gain, right? There's no information gain, to use a technical term, which is more for data than it is for content. But there is such a thing as information gain and information retrieval, but it's not adding. And to touch on AI detection, one, no matter what tool you're out there that says they detect AI, they're all bullshit. You really can't detect AI. The tools are just looking at, is it using the next statistically probable word? And maybe, but you know who else uses a statistically probable word? Humans. That's why they're statistically probable. So it's really hard to detect. But two, I don't think Google cares at all if it's AI content. And like they're gonna say stuff forward facing for their PR department and whatnot, but I don't think they care to detect or look. They're still looking at, you know, is this helpful? And by helpful content, it really is probably just information gain and or total click-through rate of the domain or type of site or something for that type of searcher. If you look into these antitrust cases, all the interesting stuff that has come out of there is fascinating for how Google really works. But I don't think they care. I think, you know, they're just looking at it, does it answer the question? And then they're going to let their feedback signals, which, you know, might be clicks. They're going to let those feedback signals dictate whether it really is helpful or not over time or through further iterations of whatever, you know, machine learning algorithm they're running through all the results.
I really agree with this, and I don't know how we can not agree with this, is that I don't think it matters how it's created. And when we talk about information gain or fully satisfying a query, there is a lot of content out there, but sometimes it's not aggregated. That's why people in the old days went to libraries. You know, it's not that they couldn't find books individually, but you go there to get more information. So I think with a robust content strategy, you end up having all the answers in the same place, and then it becomes more utile. And once that happens, it becomes more helpful. So I don't think they care how it's created. I do think it's a matter of how stuff is structured, how someone can navigate and use a site, and UX, massive part of that. And it's the signs of satisfaction, to Ryan's point, that are going back and they're going to say, this is a great site, whether, you know, we rely on dwell time or reclicks or, you know, brand clicks or whatever it might be. You know, in building a brand that fully answers and satisfies questions, we can attract traffic. And so I don't think it matters how it's created. I do think it matters how it's organized, how it's presented, how easy it is to consume.
Doc, I saw you waving your hand back there.
Go ahead.
I don't think that, you know, I agree, Ryan. I don't think that Google gives a damn whether this was generated by AI or by humans or edited or not. They're looking at the end product. And they have to look at it in terms of the users. So they've got to look at whatever signals they decide to pay attention to determine how useful it really is. AI is in such infancy still, and is going to be that way for, you know, probably 3 to 5 years, that it's very difficult at this point in time to look in and say, okay, this is hallucinating. Okay, the detection is very questionable. We're just going to have to live with it, like Carolyn says. You know, it is what it is, and it's going to evolve. So we've got to figure out what's working and what isn't working in Google's collective mind. And that kind of goes to the earlier question that you brought up, Jim, as to all of these almost continuous and overlapping updates this last year. You know, Steve does an awful lot of testing, I know. So I'm sure he'll corroborate this. when you're looking for particular results, testing what this client is doing, is this working or not? And you've got 2 or sometimes even 3 overlapping rollouts. It makes it almost impossible to determine, okay, did this go up or down because of this update or that update, or this change or that change, because sometimes they'll conflict. And at this point, Google is trying to determine what is useful, what is new. Well, like you say, there's so much data on the internet now that trying to add something new and valuable to a particular topic is increasingly difficult. And it's just going to get more difficult as we're inundated with more and more data on the net. So we have to figure out what it's going to take to impress them. Is it going to be credibility of the brand? Is it going to be the language in which the data is presented? Is it the navigation? Matching the query is just, I think it's going to become increasingly less critical. It's going to be matching the reaction. Did it satisfy the need from Google's standpoint and from the user standpoint?
Yeah, well, it's all going to be satisfying the need. And that's really what it comes down to. And I think hopefully what this is going to push the world towards is that the people that win on a given topic are going to be the people that are specialists in their field and have actual expertise. So these useless, taken up space, broad cookie sheet sites that just kind of lightly touch on zillions of topics but don't actually have really good information are going to not be profitable to the point that people aren't going to bother making them anymore. And hopefully we will get back to a point where there really is a lot of great information to be had from the internet, and the internet becomes, I don't want to say useful again, but more like it was originally intended to be, which was sharing of actual knowledge and information rather than just trying to lure people over so you can make your CPM and get the clicks.
We've been telling our clients for years to not think and set it forget it mindset. I think we know search engines use algorithms and algorithms use patterns. And I think as SEOs, we look at those most important pages on our website and we think to ourselves and we ask our customers and we ask, employees to participate in how we can make pages better, how we can make them more useful. We look at our reviews, we look at our competitors' reviews, and we find opportunities to, address gaps both in the needs of our customers and topics and entities and subtopics that we know are important, to a particular service we offer. So I think what's been a success for all of us over the years isn't the fact that we follow some sort of an optimization protocol and hand it off to the client and say, I'm done. It's that we continuously look at the data. We look at, hey, we dropped 3 positions. What happened? Let's look at the positions that are now above us and see what they did differently. Let's look at their on-page signals, off-page signals. Let's look at their SERP results and maybe even, go back through and look at the change in the rich results, if any. Let's look at the visibility. Maybe they have 3 or 4 listings now, using more universal results as opposed to just having a single listing. So that prominence gives them a little bit more credibility and potentially even more CTR. So I think a lot of us, as long as we stay in that same pattern mindset of every month, what are we doing better? And asking our content team, what did we do better this month? Asking our off-page team, how did we improve visibility to this content, to our name and these keywords off the website? Going to our tech teams and saying, how did we make our pages more usable, more better, that users are interacting with our content a little bit more? If we're doing that on our key pages and we notice some things working better than others, then we start rolling out those things across other pages on our website. So I'm feeling pretty good about how our group overall has been doing things. And I don't think we need to change our mindset on it or be worried about AI. I think we just do what we do. What's the Jim Rohn quote is, you don't have to do extraordinary things to be successful, just do ordinary things extraordinarily well. And I think all of us do that and prime examples of it.
I think most of us have a luxury, right? We don't work in affiliate niches or in made for AdSense niches. At least most of our work. A lot of us do that on side projects and whatnot. Who knows, right? We all spam, not for clients. Everybody in SEO spams on their own. But I think the made for AdSense and the niche sites are going to be what's hit biggest by the changing in search, whether it's helpful content, whether it's AI, everything, because they exist to fill a gap in search and a gap in the marketplace, a gap in brands and content, right? They fill a crack somewhere. And what AI and what the search engines get better, and as AI comes in, they're going to get better at filling those gaps. Brands can use it to fill the gaps. Search engines can fill the gaps for the brands or for the experts and whatnot. And so we're really going to see these sites start to suffer if everything works right. I mean, there's still going to be loopholes and there's still going to be ways in, and we're seeing that too with all the types of different spam that's coming in. But as it gets sorted out, I think these are the sites that are going to hurt the most. And we're going to go back to what Carolyn said: is a world where it is experts and brands and big names in the space that hopefully dominate.
Kristine,
think
you've
we
been
need to
trying
let-
to get a question in.
Let me let Topher go first because he's about to explode, I think, and then I'll go after Topher because I think I have a little bit of a different perspective on the Google doesn't care about AI and see what people think.
So, first of all, I agree with Ryan that ultimately, as long as it's useful, helpful content, Google doesn't crap if a monkey wrote it or an expert or AI. But that's not what I wanted to ask. I wanted to ask, if it's okay with Jim and Kristine, is what's winning look like in 2024? Right.
Indeed.
It's not, because I personally believe, this is my personal opinion, is that the biggest impact on AI is not going to be on content creation. It's not going to be on serving search queries, but it's going to be this interface of search. And that, so that rankings are now going to be useless data point because it's going to be personalized search to the nth degree. Those of us who've been doing it for a hot minute remember when personalized search came around and, oh my God, chicken little, sky's going to fall. Everything is bad. Well, it didn't really work out that way. No, did it? I think it's really going to happen this time. That truly that the Google's going to learn what you're looking for in search and serve you a SERP that only you ever see. That they're not going to serve that same SERP to anybody else. So saying, hey, I rank number 1 for NFL football picks is going to be great because I personally rank number 1 for picks. But if Ryan does the same search, he's going to get a different, or Caroline, or even you, you're going to get completely different, not only rankings, but interface inside of Google.
I think that that's definitely possible along with what they've discussed. But the CEO right now internally, the morale is at an all-time low at Google. It's been reported multiple times. They don't think that he's following the Google vision. So yes, he has stated that's where they're going to go. I don't know that I would want that. I want to find something when I go to search. I don't want everything repeated back to me that I've already searched for to put me in a filter bubble so tight I can't find anything outside of that. So I will have to see what the tests look like when they do that.
But you're different. We're all different. We're not the general public, and the general public, I think, is kind of not super bright. And they talk into the little machine, and then whatever the little machine spits out back at them is gospel truth, and they go on their merry way. So I think it's a reasonable concern that they are going to default to that.
I do disagree, though. I live in a non-tech area. Vegas is not tech at all. Most people here don't know anything about tech. And they regularly ask me now why they can't find anything in Google search. My dad, who's 82, sent me an email and asked why he couldn't find anything in Google search. He was looking, he writes specs for hospitals, and he was trying to find a specific bolt specification. And all I kept giving him back was shopping results because it assumed intent. And so I think when you get too narrow, you start to make mistakes in your assumptions. And I think they're already doing that. So to mistakenly believe I want X websites because I search for X things. Most people have a diverse life where they search for multiple different things based on work and home and friends. And so I can be totally wrong. You could be totally right, Carolyn. I just think that from what I hear from people now using search, that they're already frustrated with how Google's going. I don't think they'll be less frustrated if they go more that way.
But I think you're actually agreeing with me, but in a different way, because if the search results are so bad, Google will then, in theory, can use AI to learn what you're looking for and serve you a better, more useful search result that is tailored to you because it's learned what your interests are. I don't think it's going to echo chamber you. I don't think it's going to pigeonhole you. I think it could learn more and more of what Kristine wants, and then show her more useful and helpful SERPs.
And we've been seeing that for a few years already, Topher.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of search history and location and so many different things that each query has boiled into it before you see the SERP. It only makes sense that they're going to continue that.
So yes, agreed. And I think if we looked at the Yandex leak, right, like the top 12 most important factors were all personalization factors in the index. And so like when Google gets up there and says links aren't a top 3 factor, yeah, of course they're not. But I think we're going to see a hybrid of kind of what everybody here is talking about is when Google's going to say personalization, it's not going to mean to you to just what Kristine searched. And there will be an aspect of that, right? Because when you search something, you expect to see that same page you clicked on before show up again, right? You know, show someone else or redo a search later. But we all work in advertising. We're familiar with lookalike audiences or psychographics, what we call it, right? And I think, as a matter of fact, I know because there's a partial PowerPoint deck about it from the antitrust case that's on going in front of the government right now. Google's going to use that type of concept. So there's enough data in there to say, hey, I don't really care about Kristine personally as a user and her preferences and everything. But what about people that look like Kristine? Here's a search Kristine's never done, but 1,000 people that search kind of the same way Kristine does and look the same way she does in search from their cookie data have already done this search. What did they find helpful? What did they find useful? I can now tailor Kristine's search to her lookalike audience that has done that search before, even though she's never done it, and maybe give her more useful results. So I think we're going to see that type of thing more built into Google now going forward. And it's so, yeah, we're never going to see the same search results because we're not going to be, well, some of us are probably going to be the same lookalike audiences, right? I'm sure most of us search the same. But we're not going to be the same lookalike as other people or the rank trackers or whatnot. So I think, you know, there's going to be a whole nother layer to it. And it's fascinating.
So what I hear you saying is that I need to stop letting my children use my devices.
Exactly.
100%. So Ryan and Kristine and Carolyn and Kristine. So I'm going to pose my original question. What's winning? Right. Because in my point of view, we have to, it's a paradigm shift. Like a KPI of where we rank is not going to be the key KPI for SEO going forward in the future. Now, I don't think it's going to happen in 2024. I think it's down the road. But what's that key KPI? What's winning as an SEO from when we go to our bosses and say, I deserve a raise, I'm better at my job because of X, Y, and Z. How do I prove that with data?
I haven't worked at a place in the last, let me do some math on my hands, a long time that has looked at ranking data as a metric for bonuses or anything else. It's revenue. It might be overall traffic if overall traffic correlates directly to revenue, but it's revenue. That's what they look at. That's what the C-levels look at.
Yeah, I've been working with e-coms for years now. The only thing they care about are we making more money? Are we not making more money after we did all that stuff?
So the Saturday, I mean the day of the national championship game for college football, I want you all to be staring at my Slack with me and watch the hundreds of messages I will get of why don't we rank number 1? To think they don't care is fun. I wish that was true, but my personal experience is that's not true.
There are some companies that do, but there are a lot of companies I think that also don't. And I think that once the ranking data starts getting to the point where you can't accurately track it, I think they're going to roll over to things that they're comfortable with and they understand money.
And
I think it's a combination of, sorry, Ryan, let's just say real quick. I just think it's a combination of specific ranking data for specific terms, are making revenue. So like when I worked for a $2 billion e-commerce company, we dropped off number 1 for a main term for the main traffic driver for the site. So they looked at that, but they don't care about general ranking data whatsoever. So they want to know why are we not number 1 for this term, but not why are our XYZ 1,000 keywords not.
Well, to Carolyn's point, there are some businesses that do and some that don't. I think the issue there is really, it's not just revenue and it's not just rankings, it's ROI. Depending upon the business, rankings, showing up first in the SERP may be integral to pulling in their revenue. And for some others, it isn't. They don't care. They want to get you on the site and close you a deal there. So I think it's going to be ROI driven. When that ROI can be tied to rankings, then they'll be concerned about it. Those that don't change their thinking, those CEOs that continue to chase links as their ruling factor are going to be falling behind.
Yes.
because AI is going to be changing things. SGE is already changing things. The inability to test definitively because of overlapping rollouts, which, depending upon how conspiracy driven you are, may be by design, may not be, but it's having the same effect upon us as marketers because it makes it very difficult to see what caused this change in performance of my client's website. Was it this rollout or that rollout? Or these three rollouts, or a combination of two? You don't know.
And I want to circle back to two things. One, what Topher asked about what is winning, and also back to Google doesn't care about AI content. I do think Google cares about AI generated content just because of the sheer volume of content that's being created already. And they don't want to have to be crawling over 1 trillion new pages by the end of 2025 because people are just generating AI. For my clients, I've told them for their important content or for most of their site to maintain their writers and actually hire better ones. So that they can add their kind of unique twists, their personal insight, their views into there. That's why hidden gems has been applied, because they want to beat AI with all this user-generated content. I don't find hidden gems to be particularly useful. I go for a search for something that's nothing related to Reddit, and I get 8 Reddit results. But I do think they are concerned about AI content. I think that's why we have hidden gems, why we have the HCU, and why these niche affiliate sites are getting annihilated right now, because that's the early way that the HCU can identify not useful content. Also, we see a lot of sites that are saying that they're not getting indexed at all, or their pages are barely being indexed, because all they are doing is regenerating what's already out there by using AI to write the content, even with human editing. So I think, as Carolyn said, most of the AI content is just considered mediocre garbage by Google. Not necessarily by us. We read it, sounds good. It was trained to sound good and human and competent and all those things. So we read it and go, oh, that sounds great. But I think Google, as Ryan said, is looking for information gain. And information gain right now, they are saying, is personal point of view, personal expertise, personal photos, personal video, personal things that you can do to prove that you are not AI. And they're not using AI detection, but now stock images are a negative, stock videos are a negative. They want your own videos, your own personal viewpoints written in there. They want your own images in there. So I do think that they are aiming to not rank AI content as commonly as it is right now, and we'll see what happens. But I do think that they care. So I think winning for a site is also going to be determined by what shows up in the SGE. We all know that the SGE tests, I think we're all in it, show up as either like a little line at the top of the page or a full blown 2,000 pixels is the largest one I've measured of content. And if that 2,000 pixels shows up at the top of your search results, do you think anyone's going to look past it? I don't. So I was wondering what you guys think about the impact of the SGE on winning in the future.
I think
Or
it's
anything
gonna
else
be
I said.
like the feature snippets, like I mentioned earlier. I think a lot of it's going to be feature snippet based. And if Google sees it more of a transactional query, that it's just going to leave the generate button there for you to decide if you want to see an SGE result. But for the most part, I think it's not really going to have that much of an impact to lower funnel.
I don't think they're going to go full launch with the 2,000 pixel implementation. I think they're doing that to test it and get user feedback and see how much is too much and whatnot. My main thinking, though, is just cost and speed, right? It costs a lot of money to generate SGE for every search result when users don't want it. So I think they're trying to learn from us in the test is when do people want it? When do they not? How much is too much, et cetera. I don't think they launch a version that doesn't have ads in it, right? Because Google is still dependent on ad revenue, and anything that cuts away ad clicks or ad views is going to be bad for their business model. So I do think they're going to keep some sort of attribution or some sort of ad model in there in the rollout, which is good for us as organic SEOs, because if there's links and ads in there, then there's going to be links to organic websites in there too, because you can't have one without the other and be trusted, fully trusted, or get users to click on it. So I think there's a mixed future there. It's definitely going to be present, but I don't think it's going to be this thing that completely takes over search that people think it's going to be. Yeah, who knows? In the future, maybe.
What do you think, Topher?
Ryan, are you saying it depends?
No, an SEO would never say that, Topher. No.
I feel like you're saying it depends. I don't know why I feel that way. So I think we're 3 to 5 years out from really knowing what the hell Google's going to do. or any search engine, right? Let's not forget Yahoo is relaunching itself, and they're going to be a major. I can't even say that with a straight face.
But what if they were, eh?
It'd be great. Let me, obviously, I'm people on this call. I'm really good friends with Brent Provost and the guys that left CBS Sports to go over to Yahoo and bolster that team up. And I wish them all the best, and I hope they have huge success. I don't think they're going to, but okay, cool for them. I'm going to tweak a little bit here and answer Jim's original question about the updates. I think we're going to see them more often, and they're going to be less impactful. I think this is what Google was. But I think part of what Google was doing, whether they meant to or not at the end, was training us as SEOs to get used to have basically constant announced updates happening, and they're going to be less impactful because they're going to be less like, let's put the kitchen sink into a core update, and they're going to be smaller and more incremental, and they're going to happen way more often. I think we're moving to a world where we're almost in a constant Google, either algo, helpful content, spam, review, any of their updates. It's just going to be always happening in our world going forward.
Nailed it.
Hasn't it always been that way to one degree or another? Google's always constantly updating itself, tweaking here or there.
Not announcing it, though. Not announcing. I think that's the key change there, Jim, is that they're going to be telling us, like they have been when like they announced the cores. They're going to be telling us we've launched this, the January update, the February update, the March update, the helpful content. We're going to get those announcements of when they launch and stop, but it's just going to be a constant rolling thing, like all the time now.
I do miss when they had fun names. Sorry. I miss when they had fun names. They're so boring now.
Has anybody else gotten the impression over the last many months that their rollouts are increasingly more lengthy? Now, I know they've got an awful lot of territory to cover, but things that used to take 2 to 3 weeks are suddenly taking 3 to 4 months.
Yeah.
And I think that is perhaps intentional. Again, it's exacerbating that overlapping rollout issue, which gives us less information, viable information at least, that we can hang our hat on.
Well, I think we'll have to wait though also to see what happens with Project Gemini, because they did reorg internally and move a lot of the machine learning engineers over to Gemini last, I think it was March or April. And that's when I noticed a lot of the delays, the slowness. So it could just be they don't have enough engineers working on the project, but you could be right. It definitely could be meant to confuse us because, SEOs are not their favorite topic. So
really quickly, I want to shift gears a little bit. We're pressing time. Kristine, you just reminded me of something I wanted to talk about. Actually, Google has been concerned about the quality of its search results in the last few months. There's been a lot of complaints from not only the SEO community, but as Kristine pointed out, lay people are having a hard time using Google. And finding information they're looking for. So much so that Danny Sullivan, search liaison, has been inviting people to submit examples of bad search results pages. What do y'all think about that? And will there be enough feedback for Google to find incidents of mistakes and make improvements?
I would hazard a guess that internally they have probably formed a special little task force to evaluate and determine whether it's really something to be concerned about. Is it going to go away when this rollout finishes? Is it something that we caused with that rollout? Lily's been putting an awful lot of information in Danny's hands, and some of those examples were atrocious. You've got to imagine that somebody at Google is really concerned about that. This thought even occurred to me the other day. Is this something that Danny's doing on his own because he just can't get anybody to listen? And that's the kind of thing that Danny would do. You don't want to listen to me? Here, listen to these 34 professionals that are pointing out these examples. I could imagine him doing that, and more power to him. But I think that they have to be paying attention. Whether it's going to turn out the way we would like to see it turn out, that's an if.
Very possible that no one's listening to them. I think we've seen, in my opinion, Google's gone too much machine learning, and I think what we've seen in the past few updates is what is they've rolled out way too much machine learning. They've pulled the lever too far. Whatever signals the machine learning is using to show that, domain clickability or whatever that metric is, right? That's why we're seeing 7-year-old Reddit posts pop up for recent questions that we're like, this doesn't help me, right? There's too much, something's weighted wrong in the wrong way. And the challenge though is if it is full machine learning, SVMs and whatnot, how do you manually adjust it, right? I think you're gonna see a lot of back and forth here, a lot of updates, as we'll call them, until they actually get it tuned right. And I think we're living in that phase right now where they've made a drastic change to how things work. I think that's my gut, but I think we're going to see the tuning phase, and it's going to be ugly for a bit before they figure it out, I think.
100% agree. Matt Cutts used to say he would never add machine learning to the ranking signals because once it broke something, they would not be able to fix it. Because once the machine learning does something, there's no way to reverse engineer what it's done. And I completely agree with you. I've been pointing out to Google, I've been sending, I don't mean like a little bit bad, I mean completely irrelevant results for at least 6 months now, where I put in a search and I get maybe one result that's related. I also get a lot of spam, a lot of that predatory parasite stuff showing up. And I also get just completely irrelevant. It has nothing to do with what I've searched for, or it has to do with one word in the search. It's a multi-search. So it's like I put 5 words in and Google's overly hyped on one term in that search result. And the results, and this is personal. I don't even mean for clients. I just mean when I'm personally looking for things, it has just been so horrendous that maybe 25% of what I get back has anything to do with what I search for. And that's a big maybe on about 75% of my searches. So what have you guys been seeing? Similar or?
I saw the same thing. I was doing a campaign for IHOP. They have a new campaign starting in February, and I was trying to find sites that were specifically around some of the new things that they're doing. Some things like, what are some websites specifically about strawberries? What are some websites, I don't know, specifically about chocolate? And I'm doing some of that research just to find sites where they could do a little bit of cross promotion, a little bit of reference and referral links, and maybe benefit some SEO. I couldn't find anything. It was just garbage. And some of the sites that showed up were like other TLDs. And I'm like, what am I looking at? Like, what happened to Google? It's dead. And so I gave up and I went back to just, coming up with broader recommendations because I was just exhausted trying to find sites that were relevant, that were still around. Some of the sites that I did find, or I used Bard to find, what didn't exist anymore. They were just gone or hadn't been updated since 2018. And I'm like, what is going on? So I feel the pain. Yeah.
I'm regularly getting results from 1998 to 2008 in the top 10.
Oh my God.
Here's my question. So Ryan brought up the good point that, that when the information we're getting out of the lawsuit is that, links are not the top of the pile, right? That, personalization, that kind of stuff. And then we talked about how machine learning is too much. Is that the problem with the SERPs? Is that they aren't relying on the core of what the page rank was based on, which was, votes from other verticals to other sites in either the same or comparable verticals, saying this site's an authority because we're linking to them? Is that why we're getting such crappy results? It's because they've walked too far away from the core of what the quality algorithm was?
I think it's too much semantic, which, semantic being the meaning of the words. So not really looking at the exact word you type, and not enough lexical search, which lexical being give me the words I typed and their variants, right? I think the shift has been too much semantic, and they've gotten away from, we all grew up on search engines. These are the words I type. Give me the web pages that show them. And us older people are kind of expecting that. I think when it comes to stuff like RankBrain and neural matching and, even things like TW-BERT that weight the weight of a word in a query, I think they've tuned it way too semantically, way too much weight given semantically, so that you're getting off-topic stuff that hits on what they thought the most important word of your query was, even though it's, not really related to the rest of what you're looking for. That's my opinion.
And to what you said,
that
Topher,
exactly.
I
just want to say, so I was searching recently because one of my boy cats, and it was clearly one of the boy cats, was spraying, and he was spraying blood. So I'm sorry if that's TMI, but it was kind of gross. And I was like, oh my God, he's dying. So when I Googled, why is my cat peeing blood? But I put male cat because that's it's an important distinction in diagnosing the problem, because boy cats have different problems than girl cats do. And all I got were articles about female cats and like possible UTIs and things like that. And I'm like, no, I need the thing about the boy cats because the boy cats have different problems.
And a
And I
lot of
could
that too.
not convince Google to give me an article about that. And it was, I mean, it was frustrating, partially because my cat was peeing blood, and the other part because I'm typing this in and I'm being very specific in my request. And it's like, you don't really know what you're talking about. Here, look at this instead.
And it's sort of similar. They had a shooting and a stabbing at my apartment complex. So I was looking up crime statistics for the apartment complex, and all I could get back were rental results. Like every page was a rental result, no matter how much I changed it, because the apartments are related to rental. And so it associated that. But back to what Ryan and Topher were saying, with Topher and Ryan mentioned neural matching and RankBrain, which are applied post scoring. And so links aren't involved in those part of the results. They resort right after the scoring's done. So they could have ramped up neural matching and RankBrain, and that would completely lower the value of the link in the sort order or what's pulled back. And then, as Ryan said, become overly semantic and not lexical enough, because those are now applied too heavily compared to the core quality scoring that we're used to. What do you guys think? Because
I think maybe Google was trying to tell you, instead of looking at crime statistics, you should be looking for a new apartment. But
I was doing that too, unfortunately.
100%. That's what they were trying to tell her, Ryan.
Story.
100%. That's exactly what it was.
That's highly personalized results, eh?
Yeah, there was not one crime statistic in any of the results, including crime statistics for this address.
Okay, we
Yeah,
got
but
to
what do you
shift
guys
gears a
think?
little bit
Oh, go ahead.
again. We're almost at the top of the hour. Sorry, Kristine, we're so close to the end of the show. We only got a couple questions left. We've asked about, we've talked about mistakes Google have made and errors in search and stuff for the last show. What's the best thing that's happened this year in search? The coolest thing, the coolest thing that searchers, consumers, internet users, whatever.
I kind of like that personalized result. I shared the link for what I see on my phone when I open the Google app and I do some searches. This blended Google Discover, TikTok-ish kind of environment where I can choose to not like a particular brand or something isn't relevant to me. I love that because now I feel like, and I know Dwayne was talking about this a bit at State of Search. He was talking about how Gen Z and Gen Alpha are using TikTok to search more than Google. And I thought it was really fascinating. And I see Google starting to incorporate some of the same themes, and I'm starting to see better Discover results in some of my results. And I think that's awesome. I don't have to be on TikTok now to see content I'm interested in. I can see it right in Google Discover within the Google app. So I think that's actually a pretty cool thing that enables us to get the kind of content we want, but they still need to fix search within that interface because, as we all just talked about, it's a mess. But at least the personalized results themselves are pretty cool.
I like the new, I like that they're featuring the firsthand experience results from mostly from Reddit. I think I tend to find those most useful. And I know that sometimes it can be garbage, but the things that I've been searching for, it's been helpful. So I was in the market for a super automatic espresso maker. And I had a question about, this brand versus the other brand. I typed in this brand versus the other brand, and I got a ton of really hardcore coffee aficionado, I've had both of these brands. This is the model I had. These were all the things that I liked about it and the things I didn't like about it. And what I didn't get were the brand websites where I would not get honest information that I felt was useful. So, I mean, I know it can be possibly problematic with how they're incorporating it, but I think there are some use cases where it is really useful. And in those situations, I'm a big fan.
I think besides the fact that we all were outed for ruining the internet, I think that my favorite thing is the fact that Google is forcing us and people who do what we do at all levels to be better at what we do. And that is only going to make our industry stronger and in the long run, I understand that there is not a piece of data or information that proves this today, but in the long run, it'll make the SERPs better, and and I think that that's a good thing, and that's really my takeaway for that. And the fact I survived cancer this year, so yay me.
Yay you. That's awesome.
Okay, Ryan or Doc, do either of you have an observation on the very best thing to happen on the web this year?
I mean, Topher surviving cancer is now my new best thing that happened
It's
this
hard
year.
to top, eh?
Very, very, very
Can't
happy.
top that. But no, I think everybody just hit on the stuff I would say. So I'll pass my time.
I'm still waiting to see something good happen in 2023. So
I'm with Doc.
Well, you know what? 2023 is over. I mean, seriously, functionally, this is write it up. It's done. We got one more working day, 3 more actual days. 2024 is on its way. And is there anything coming down the pipe that as a SEO or as a search engine user really excites you?
I'll jump on that. The one thing that I'm really intrigued about is the AI actually getting dialed in. You know, there's folks out there, evildoers that are using AI for their spamming, texting, and phishing and whatnot. There's going to be more AI used in hacking, but there's also going to be a lot better applications for it. And I'm concerned about some of the negative aspects that AI is capable of, but I'm very encouraged about some of the positive aspects as well. So I'm hoping that the 3 to 5 years that I'm currently agreeing with Topher on is overly pessimistic and it ends up being a year or two. 2024 would be wonderful to see. I have my doubts, but I do think we'll see some progress. I'm not going to bank the farm on it.
Okay, anybody else want to jump in on this, or I'm going to have to take us out?
No, I
Carolyn.
was just to say, I'm really, I don't know if it's directly search related, but the AI stuff I've been using as a helper to me has been very helpful as someone who's got ADHD, and there are things that I used to have to do manually, sort of, or lean on other people to help me with, for coping mechanisms and time management and things like that, that I've been able to use the AI for, that has made me so much more productive and so much better able to do my jobs and to function and to not have panic attacks all the time. So I'm happy that we're getting to the point where we can integrate these tools into our lives and make our, make work better, make things better for us.
I agree. I'm excited for basically the future forcing us to, for lack of a better term, grow up. Because for so long our industry has been about, tricks and hacks and tactics, and every change that's happening and everything we've talked about is forcing us to be more marketers. We have to understand user intents and needs and desires and different channels, right? I've been long saying it at Razorfish that AI is another channel, like an app store or Amazon or search or paid ads or display, right? AI is just one more channel we have to be visible in. And it's really making us think like marketers and turning SEO into more of a legitimate, well, not that it wasn't legitimate, but making it, the Venn diagram of SEO and marketing closer and closer to a circle. And I think that's where we're going to keep going.
I think Ryan's 150% right, which I never want to say that phrase again. And the key is, I think that something that a good portion of our industry at some point lost vision of is SEO is audience acquisition. That's what we are. That's what we do. End of sentence. Yeah. There is no yeah, but on that one. We are audience acquisition. And this, I think, is pushing us to remember that and go back to that and be better at that.
Kristine, I think you wanted to get something in.
Oh, no. I was just happy everyone could come today. I think that everyone had great insights, and we don't always agree, but we always have really smart, intelligent people giving us different perspectives we can all cue into. So I'm thankful, and very thankful Topher beat his cancer. We've known Topher for a very long time, so that just makes me happy. And it's good to see your faces. No one else can see your faces because we're on audio only, but I can see you. So it's good to see you here. So.
Well, yeah, I want to thank everyone for being part of the show today. Doc Sheldon, CEO of Web Narwhal, Topher Kohan, Director of SEO for CBS Sports Paramount Global, Ryan Jones, Senior Vice President at SEO of SEO at Razorfish, Carolyn Shelby, Principal SEO of Newfold Digital and YoastSEO, Steve Wiideman, CEO of Wiideman Consulting, who's actually had to split, and also Grant Simmons, who also had to split. Thank you all for being here today. As Kristine said, this is the last show of 2023. So I want to thank all of you for sticking with us through another year, a really turbulent year in search. I want to thank Darren and Brandy, the owners of WMR.fm, and Brasco and Ricky, the two supreme engineers at WMR and Cannabis Radio, our sister network. Friends, be really safe over New Year's. Be responsible. Don't drink and drive. Don't smoke and fly. Watch out for your neighbors. Watch out for your friends, your brothers and your sisters. Rank well. Be kind to each other. Stay safe, and we'll talk to you next year.
Bye, everyone. Happy New Year.
Position right.
Thanks
Happy
all.
New Year, everybody. Great joining you.
He's the U.S. Ambassador for Inlinks and Fractional Director SEO for Healthcare Success and at Clickfluent Consulting. Do I got that one right?
That's how it was written. So Grant will have to correct you.
You know what? I think independent. I liked independent
I've lots
SEO
of
about town.
Yeah, I have a lot of roles right now, Jim. So yeah, all of those are right.
Well, Grant, Carolyn, Ryan, Topher, and Doc, welcome to Webcology. Thanks for joining us. Wild year it's been. I don't even know where to begin. What a year it's been. Going in some weird semblance of order, what was the biggest thing that happened in search this year? What do y'all think? Like the thing that impacted search the most? I think I know what y'all going to say, but what is it? Anyone who wants to jump first.
I mean, everyone's going to say AI, right?
Well, you got there first.
It really hasn't influenced search yet, right? It's still an experiment on most of the engines, or you have to have Edge and use Bing, which, let's be real, most people don't. So like it is the biggest influence, but it still has a long way to go, I think. So it's interesting to me that, everybody's going to say it, but I don't think it's really made its full mark yet.
Ryan's right. We're, I think, 3 to 5 years off for AI being really impactful. The biggest thing this year was an unprecedented amount of core updates. We had one right after another, overlapping other major updates. That's, I think, was the biggest impact, at least from my point of view. That's the biggest impact I saw on our business and how it impacted us, was not so much being hit by the core algorithm updates, but being not really knowing if there was volatility in our rankings and traffic because of it or not.
Yeah, I would say that although we talk about